My name is James D. Kammer. I'm 42 years old, a staff sergeant with the 82nd Airborne, and I've served my country for nearly 2 decades. I've been to places most people wouldn't last a day in, heat so blistering your bones ache, violence so sudden you stop fearing death because you've already made peace with it. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for the gut punch I received not from an enemy, but from the woman I'd built my life with. Her name was Emily. I met her in 2010 back home in Spokane. I was on leave staying with my best friend from basic. She was studying nursing but eventually settled for admin work at a dental clinic. Less stress, she said. We clicked right away, her laugh was easy, her eyes warm. We married just 8 months later. I thought we were solid. I mean, marriage isn't easy, especially not with a soldier. But we had a house, a routine, and after every deployment I came home to her arms. At least I used to. Then, on my 4th deployment, in Kandahar, Afghanistan, I got an email with the subject line, "Let's be adults about this." 3 sentences long. Emily was divorcing me. She'd already filed the papers. She'd already emptied our joint account. She had already moved her new boyfriend, Jeremy, into our home. My home. A home I bought on a VA loan with only my name on the mortgage. I stared at the screen in the heat of the desert, surrounded by sandbags and camouflage, trying to breathe. It felt like my chest had been kicked in. No explanation. No fight. Just a clean sweep while I was 7,000 miles away. I closed the laptop, walked to the showers, and stood there under cold water until my hands stopped shaking. That night I replied with one word. Understood. That was it. No begging. No arguing. No emotion. If she wanted clean, I'd give her surgical. Wilson, my bunkmate, noticed something was off. "You good, man?" "Yeah," I said flatly. "Just stuff back home." And that was the end of that. The thing is, I wasn't shocked. Not really. 6 months before deployment, things had started shifting. Little things. Emily stopped asking about my day. She started working late. She joined a gym but never seemed to sweat. New clothes. New passwords on her phone. Less affection. Less eye contact. Still, I didn't say anything. Not because I was blind, but because I've learned in combat and life. Never react too fast. Observe. Wait. Prepare. And I had. What Emily didn't know, what Jeremy certainly didn't know, was that I'd been making quiet moves of my own. I opened a private account and started diverting a small percentage of my military pay, just enough to keep me afloat if I ever had to start over. I rented a small storage unit and moved important documents there. The house deed in my name, military paperwork, birth certificates, and heirlooms like my grandfather's watch and my mother's silver. I didn't tell her. I just acted. Something in my gut had started buzzing months ago. It never stopped. Then, the week after her email, I got a notification from the bank. A withdrawal. Then another. And another. Emily was draining our accounts in chunks, methodically. $88,500 gone from checking. $47,000 vanished from savings. The last alert showed our balance, $22.37. My heart didn't break. It turned to stone. That night, I logged into our home security system. Emily probably forgot I still had access. A man I'd never seen was lounging on my couch. He wore my Seahawks sweatshirt, drank from my coffee mug, walked my dog like he owned the leash. And there she was, laughing in the kitchen I remodeled with my own hands. My fury didn't ignite. It calcified. It focused. This wasn't war. This was now a mission. And I never go into a mission without a plan. The worst part wasn't the betrayal. It wasn't even the stolen money or the man wearing my sweatshirt in my house. It was the silence. That damn, suffocating silence every night after patrol, when I returned to my bunk and realized there was no home to come back to. No wife waiting. No, "I miss you" messages. Just a hollow space where a marriage used to be. I'd faced mortars, lost friends, seen bodies shredded beyond recognition, but this was a different kind of grief. The kind that didn't show up with blood or bruises, just a slow rotting inside your chest. A kind of betrayal that made you question your own judgment. I couldn't sleep. I'd lie in bed while Wilson read or played poker with the guys, staring at the canvas above me, wondering how long it had been going on. Did Emily ever really love me? Or had I just been a stepping stone to comfort? A name on a mortgage, a military paycheck, a man conveniently gone for long stretches of time? 2 weeks passed before I snapped out of the fog. It happened in the mess hall. I was halfway through a plate of reconstituted eggs when my phone buzzed. Another bank notification. A transfer of $14,600. This one was new. It wasn't from our joint account. It was from a loan account. A refinance on our house. The VA loan I secured. In my name. With my signature. Except I never signed any refinance papers. I dropped my fork. The air around me felt like static. My throat went dry. I opened the bank app and followed the trail. She had taken out a loan against our home. Without my permission. Using a forged signature. I pushed away from the table and left the mess. Stood outside in the blistering sun, hands on my hips, staring at the horizon. This wasn't just betrayal. This was fraud. And for the first time since I got that email, I felt something. Clarity. I walked straight to the base phone center and called my buddy James Mallory, former JAG officer turned civilian lawyer. I hadn't spoken to him in over a year. He picked up on the second ring. James Kammer, he said. Damn, it's been a while. I need legal help, I said. And it's urgent. Can you talk? Always. Go secure. I moved to the encrypted line. For the next 30 minutes I laid it all out. The divorce, the drained accounts, the forged refinance. He didn't interrupt. Just listened. When I finished he said, James, we're not dealing with just a scorned spouse. This is calculated. Strategic. Possibly criminal. I rubbed my temple. I know. That's why I need you. All right, he said. When's your next leave? 6 weeks, maybe sooner if I push emergency orders. Push them. When you're back stateside we'll sit down. But start compiling everything now. Every document. Every email. Every screenshot. We're going to hit back hard. I hung up and walked the perimeter of the compound for hours that night, mentally cataloging every document I'd need. Every trap I could lay. But the next day the despair came back like a second wave. You see, anger gives you adrenaline. But grief is heavier. I started wondering if I was crazy. If maybe I had done something wrong. If Emily's coldness was a result of my distance. My duty. My absence. I remembered the night before I deployed. She barely hugged me. No tears. No trembling hands. Just a stiff goodbye and a quick, stay safe. Like I was headed to the grocery store, not a war zone. That memory haunted me for days. And then came the video. I wasn't expecting it. I had logged into the home security system again, more out of masochism than strategy. And there they were, Emily and Jeremy, dancing in my living room. Drinking wine. Our dog curled up beside them like everything was normal. She was wearing my hoodie. The one she used to steal from me on cold nights. I watched her laugh at something he said, then lean in to kiss him. That was the moment the despair cracked. Because you can only grieve for something you believe in. And I no longer believed in her. She wasn't grieving. She wasn't torn apart. She was thriving. And that meant I could let go. I clicked open a new document on my laptop. Operation Homefront. That's what I titled it. And underneath I wrote. Objective, reclaim assets. Expose fraud. Neutralize threats. Regain control. I wasn't James the husband anymore. I was James the soldier again. And this time I was fighting on my home soil. When I flipped that switch in my mind, from grieving husband to tactician, everything changed. Despair gave way to strategy. Emotion gave way to precision. I was trained for this, not this exact war, no. But for chaos. For ambiguity. For betrayal under fire. And betrayal under your own roof? That just required better planning. I contacted my commanding officer and requested emergency leave. I didn't give details, just enough to trigger the protocol. A week later I was wheels down in Washington State. I didn't go home. I checked into a modest Motel 2 cities over under the name Joseph Kriegman, a fake ID I had from an old military exercise. Nothing illegal. Just old habits. Discretion. I texted James Mallory as soon as I landed. He replied, Diner. Highway 395. Tomorrow. 9 a.m. booth in the back. We met at a Greasy Spoon outside of Spokane. I was 10 minutes early. He was already there, files spread across the table. You look like hell, he said. Feel like it too. He pushed a folder toward me. What is it? I asked. Everything I could find, he said. You were right, your signature on the refinance? I compared it to your VA mortgage docs. They don't match. Stroke angle, pressure points, even the wrong middle initial. I clenched my jaw. She really did it. Oh, she did more than that, he said. She listed Jeremy Ryan as a co-applicant. Co-applicant? On my house. James nodded grimly. Which is illegal. VA loans don't allow co-applicants unless it's a spouse. And last I checked, she hadn't legally married him yet. I was quiet for a long time. James slid over another paper. Look at this. It was a series of large transfers from the loan account. I recognized none of the recipients, except for one name that showed up more than once. Daniel Spencer. Who the hell is Daniel Spencer? A real estate agent, James said. Specializes in cash deals. Fast turnarounds. No questions asked. He's closed properties with Jeremy Ryan 3 times in the last 2 years. You're telling me, I said slowly, this wasn't just Emily screwing around? This was a setup. A pattern. James nodded. Looks like it. I dug into Jeremy's background. He's got priors, DUIs, credit fraud, even some shady real estate consulting charges that never stuck. My blood ran cold. 3 other women, James said. All divorced military spouses. All had assets. All got involved with Jeremy shortly before filing. All ended up broke. I leaned back in the booth stunned. So she didn't just fall in love with a loser. She handed our life to a con man. And she may not be the only one. That's when I knew. This wasn't about getting even anymore. This was about stopping them. Stopping them from doing this to the next guy. To the next soldier who trusted too easily. I pulled out my phone and opened the home security app. Check this out. We both watched the feed, Jeremy pacing through my living room on the phone. I turned up the volume. We list at $470,000, Jeremy was saying. He won't be back for weeks. VA guys are slow, and even if he catches on, the sale will be done by then. James shook his head. You've got them on tape. This is gold. Not enough, I said. I want the truth. I want to know how deep this goes. That night, James and I drove to the county clerk's office. We filed a fraud report on the refinance. We submitted evidence of a forged signature. We had the loan flagged for investigation, and I registered a formal notice that no sale or modification of the property could proceed without my written authorization. Then I went back to the motel and waited. 2 days later, I got a call from James. They froze the funds. But get this, only half of the money is still there. What happened to the rest? 14 grand was wired to Daniel Spencer. Probably earnest money for the house listing. She was going to sell our house. She's not the seller, James reminded me. You are. That's when the last piece of the puzzle fell into place. Emily had tried to erase me, not just emotionally, not just legally, but financially. She tried to remove me from my own life while I was overseas, fighting for a country that, apparently, couldn't protect me from betrayal back home. But I still had my training. Still had my name on the deed. Still had my mind. And now, I had a plan. The funny thing about betrayal? It doesn't just hurt, it sharpens you. Once the fog clears, what's left is steel. I wasn't broken anymore. I was focused, precise, strategic. Everything I'd learned from years of military operations, surveillance, coordination, timing, was now aimed at one target, exposing Emily, Jeremy, and whoever else was behind this scheme. And the best part? They still thought I was on the other side of the world. I didn't respond to Emily's texts. Not the one that said, "We need to talk." Not the one that tried guilt-tripping me with, "You said you'd always love me no matter what." And definitely not the one that ended with, "It's just money, James. We can fix this if you just come home." She had no idea I was already here. Back in the country. Back in control. That morning, James and I sat in his office reviewing the final details. "Here's what we know," he said. Jeremy and Emily were preparing to sell the house to a buyer that Daniel Spencer lined up. We traced the funds. Spencer received earnest money and was preparing listing photos. Jeremy's involved in at least 3 other similar property flips, all through the same agent. In each case, the female homeowner was either recently divorced or still married to a deployed soldier. "And Emily?" I asked. "She claims she didn't know any of this was illegal," he said. "But she's been moving money into a new account. One we just traced to Oregon, near her sister's place. She's preparing to vanish." "Not if we move first," I said. We filed an injunction that froze the house title. Next, I met with a federal investigator, a guy named Patel. Short. Stocky. No nonsense. I handed over everything, forged docs, security footage, voice recordings from the home cam. "We've been building a case against Jeremy Ryan and Daniel Spencer for months," Patel said. "You might be the key witness we needed." That night, I logged into the home security system again. Jeremy was in the kitchen, my kitchen, bragging on speakerphone. "Should have the sale locked in by Friday. We list at 470, but they'll offer 420. Gosh. As always. I leaned forward. "And the husband?" someone asked. "Military," Jeremy scoffed. He'll bark but he can't bite. The VA process is slow. He won't even be able to contest the sale until it's already closed. I recorded every word. Uploaded the video to Patel. Then I sat in the dark, looking at the screen, watching the man who tried to erase me sip wine from my mug. You want war? I muttered. You got it. D-Day, Friday. At 9:43 a.m., Emily left the house, dressed sharp like she was going to meet someone. James and I followed from a distance. She was headed to Riverfront Park. A text hit my burner phone. Emily, can we talk? Please? I know you're angry. I didn't mean for this to happen. I didn't reply. Instead, I checked the security feed at the house. Right on cue, Jeremy pulled up in my truck. Spencer arrived 5 minutes later. He had a folder in hand. They shook hands and walked inside. I called Patel. They're in, I said. Recording just like you wanted. He was already outside the neighborhood in a black SUV. We're ready. At 10:12 a.m., 3 unmarked vehicles rolled up. FBI agents flooded the lawn, guns holstered but drawn. I watched from a block away as Spencer and Jeremy were pulled out in handcuffs. Jeremy screamed, "This is a misunderstanding." Yeah. So was marrying Emily, I wanted to yell. An hour later, Emily came back. Saw the flashing lights. The neighbors. The agents pulling boxes from our house. She froze. Her hands shot to her mouth. Even from a distance I could see it, the realization hitting her like a wave. She had lost control. And she had no idea what was coming next. Emily stood frozen on the front lawn, eyes wide, mouth parted like she was about to scream but forgot how. I stayed in the car, parked a block down, watching it all unfold. The agents moved fast just like we'd planned. Jeremy and Spencer were loaded into separate vehicles. Boxes of documents, digital files, and prescription pads from the dental office Emily worked at were carried out of the house. All cataloged. All evidence. She turned in slow circles trying to make sense of it all. And then her phone came out. Right on cue, my burner lit up. Emily, James, please call me. I don't know what's going on. The FBI just raided the house. They took Jeremy. Then a second message. Emily, if this is you, please don't do this. We can fix it. I'll explain everything. I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. She made her bed with a con man, now she'd lie in it. Back at James's office, we were already working the next phase. I sent the security footage to Patel, he said. Jeremy incriminated himself. Talked about the scheme. Even named Spencer. Said you'd be too busy with deployment crap to stop the sale. And Emily? She's harder to pin, James admitted. She didn't sign anything herself. The loan was forged under your name, and all the bank transfers were from the joint account. But she had to know. She benefited. She moved Jeremy in. Helped coordinate the sale. Might not make her the mastermind, but she's not innocent. The FBI agreed. Patel called me later that night. We're reviewing her involvement. If she cooperated knowingly, she'll face charges. But her defense will be, I didn't know he forged it. He said he had your consent. He stole my identity, I said flatly. Used my VA loan. Sold my home. Exactly, Patel replied. Which is why we're moving on conspiracy and wire fraud. If she turns on Jeremy, she might get a deal. I almost laughed. That would be so like Emily, selling out the man she left me for just to save her own skin. A week later I was back in court. Not for divorce proceedings. Those had already been quietly filed months earlier, and Emily's lawyer had been pushing for a clean break. But now things were different. This wasn't about heartbreak anymore. This was about law. Truth. Restitution. My military pension had been flagged for unauthorized inquiries. My name had been attached to real estate listings without consent. But worst of all, she tried to erase me from my own life. And that I wasn't going to let slide. James and I filed a formal civil claim against Emily and Jeremy for identity theft, forgery, fraudulent loan activity, emotional damages, conversion of marital property. We added Daniel Spencer to the suit too. By now, the FBI had enough on Spencer and Jeremy to make federal charges stick. They offered both men plea deals if they cooperated. Jeremy cracked first. Gave up everything. 3 other families in Colorado. 2 in Texas. 1 in Virginia. All military. All the same MO. Emily was listed as a cooperating participant, but not the ringleader. Still, she wasn't getting out clean. Not after what she did. The settlement came 6 weeks later. Emily signed over all rights to the house. The refinance loan was reversed. My accounts were reimbursed with federal restitution funds pending criminal trial. She had to submit a signed confession admitting she forged my signature, whether she held the pen or enabled someone who did. In exchange, I didn't press criminal charges against her. It wasn't mercy. It was precision. I wanted her exposed, not imprisoned. I wanted her to live every day knowing she lost everything for a man who rolled on her the second things got hard. And best of all, the house she tried to sell? I sold it myself. To a veterans foundation that helps homeless soldiers transition into civilian life. Used the money to buy a cabin outside Missoula, Montana. 10 acres. Wood stove. A creek that sings at night. No neighbors. Just me and my dog, Scout. Emily sent one last email the day the divorce was finalized. Subject line, I never meant for things to end this way. No body text. I stared at it for a long moment, then clicked delete. There was nothing left to read. Just when I thought it was over, papers signed, house sold, revenge complete, I got a call that spun the entire story on its head. It was Agent Patel. James, he said, his voice brisk, but carrying an edge of tension I hadn't heard before. We need you to come in. Something's come up. Something wrong with the case? I asked, already expecting some paperwork issue or another appeal attempt from Jeremy's lawyer. No, he said. Something deeper. Something bigger. I met with Patel and his partner, Agent Donovan, that afternoon at the Spokane field office. A new stack of files sat between them, thicker than before, more ominous. Donovan slid a document toward me. Do you recognize this name? Colleen Everett. I shook my head. No. She's from Boise, Patel said. Divorced in 2020. Husband was active duty Air Force. House mysteriously refinanced during deployment. Sold under market value. Money disappeared. Husband came home to find nothing but a storage unit with his uniforms. My stomach dropped. Jeremy? Bingo. Different name. He was using aliases, Jared Ross, Michael Givens, Cole Everett. He was the friend helping her through the divorce. And Emily? Donovan nodded. Her name appears in 2 separate transactions. One as a referral agent, the other as a witness signature on a forged document. I went cold. She said she didn't know. Maybe she didn't at first, Patel admitted. But this isn't one-time misjudgment. This was a pattern. Organized. Intentional. They turned the page. A list of women, names, cities, deployment status of spouses, property values. 13 in total. 13 families. I thought I was the story, I whispered. You were the match, Patel said. But this is the fire. Your case was the one that finally broke the pattern wide open. We're elevating the investigation. Conspiracy. Racketeering. Financial crimes targeting federal employees. And Emily? I asked again. She's now under formal investigation. Her immunity deal is being reconsidered. It hit me like a freight train. I thought she'd been manipulated. Used. Just another pawn. But she'd been playing the game. Maybe not from the very beginning, but somewhere along the line she switched teams. I left the field office in a daze. The cabin felt quieter than usual that night. Scout lay at my feet, sensing something in the air. I stared out the window at the moonlight cutting across the trees and it hit me. All those years, deployment after deployment, I thought the danger was always out there. But sometimes the real enemy shares your dinner table. I thought of the other men, the other families. Some still trying to put their lives back together. Some probably blaming themselves. I reached for the letter I'd pinned to the fridge a few months back, the one from the Navy wife in Fort Worth. You don't know me, she wrote, but you saved our home. Thank you for fighting back when it would have been easier to walk away. That letter meant more than any military ribbon I'd ever worn. Because it proved something no betrayal could erase. I still mattered. Not to Emily, but to the people I unknowingly helped. People like me. I got the call on a Tuesday. James, Agent Patel said, it's done. What is? The indictments. Jeremy Ryan and Daniel Spencer have been charged under federal RICO statutes. Wire fraud. Identity theft. Conspiracy. Attempted sale of federally protected property. They took a deal, 10 years each, no parole. I didn't say anything. Just closed my eyes and let the silence stretch. And Emily? I finally asked. Patel sighed. We traced her to 5 properties tied to the scheme. Her fingerprints were everywhere, referrals, notarizations, even forged witness signatures. My heart didn't drop this time. It hardened. She'll be charged, Patel continued. Not as the ringleader, but as a knowing participant in a criminal enterprise. She's cooperating now, but, well, That's between her and the judge. What's the sentence look like? Could be 18 months, maybe more. Depends on what else she gives us. There it was. The final crack in the illusion of innocence I'd clung to once upon a time. Emily hadn't just betrayed me emotionally or financially. She'd sold out her integrity piece by piece, deal by deal, until she wasn't a person anymore, just a signature in a string of cons. A ghost. 6 months later, the headlines broke nationwide. Military housing scam uncovered. FBI charges 3 in cross-state fraud ring. Soldiers targeted by real estate scheme while deployed. Spokane man's security footage triggers federal case. They didn't name me, but I knew. And so did 13 other men and women across the country. Each one who called me afterward, thanked me, sent letters or emails saying, I thought I was alone. I wasn't. None of us were. That's the one gift betrayal gives you if you survive it: clarity. It burns away illusion and forces you to rebuild from truth. I never went back to Spokane. Sold the house. Sold the furniture. The memories. Too much of my old life had been built on lies. No sense keeping the foundation. Instead, I started over in Missoula, Montana. Quiet land. Chopping wood in the mornings. Coffee by the fire. Scout dozing by my feet as I carve furniture for the locals. Stools, benches, tables. My hands making things that last. Things that don't lie. I never remarried. Not because I don't believe in love, but because I believe in peace more. And peace, I found, is the most precious form of justice. Sometimes I get a message from someone who read about the case. One came from a Marine in Florida. His wife tried something similar, signed his name to a second mortgage while he was stationed overseas. He caught it early because of the news coverage. You saved me, he wrote. You didn't even know it, but you saved me. I sat with that letter for a long time. Didn't reply. Just folded it, added it to the others in a small wooden box I keep on the shelf, next to my mother's silver and my grandfather's watch. Reminders of the things no one could steal from me. The things I protected. Not with rage. Not with revenge. But with the truth. And the truth, as I've learned, is quiet. But it always wins. In the end, truth has a way of surfacing, even if it comes twisted through pain and betrayal. As one wise voice once said, sometimes your greatest enemy was once your closest ally. If this story struck a chord with you, let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, share, and spread the word, because justice deserves to be heard.